Welcome to this episode of the Left Behind Game Club. This week, it's all about Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons. Now, this game really got us to think about our entrepreneurial sides.
I have a suggestion for us. We need to open a goat business called Left Behind Goat Club.
No goats left behind.
No goats
I've already
left behind.
purchased the domain.
You already... Great. Can I suggest a few slogans for our business? At the Left Behind Goat Club, we'll jump for joy with goats.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Your marketing responsibilities have been revoked.
You're listening to the Left Behind Game Club.
Welcome to the Left Behind Game Club, our never-ending attempt to make sure that no game is left behind. I'm your host, Jacob McCourt, and with me, three wonderful guests today. We start with the guys you already know. Mike Ruffolo to start.
Hello.
Mo Murtadi.
Hello, everyone.
And our special guest, our first guest on the pod, Shane Chiasson. I'm going to clap you on. Woo! I don't know, Shane, do you want to maybe give the folks a little bit about yourself, kind of what you like gaming-wise? Yeah, do that.
Yeah, sure. So, yeah, my name's Shane. I'm kind of in the same boat as you, Jacob. I'm really enjoying video games, but I'm not very good at them. And, my favorite game series is Final Fantasy. I'm a really big player, and Metal Gear Solid is also another favorite.
So only really good games. You like playing very good games is what you're saying.
Yeah, very good.
I'm sorry, he said he liked Metal Gear Solid. Where do you get good games out of that?
Ruffalo, watch your tone.
Oh, man.
Wow,
Watch
it. Watch it.
We'll mute
Just
you.
wait until we talk about the Mines of Moria.
Admin privileges revoked. Okay.
Let's turn off his headset and talk about him.
I would understand if you were like, yo, Metal Gear Solid is anime. Like, I would understand that argument because I agree with it, but
Anime
don't go
can be
trashing
good,
it.
But Metal Gear Solid can't.
Yo, he had handguns and he was guns in his hands and he's... Oops, spoilers. Wow.
We just lost half of our subscribers with Michael's comments. Anyways.
Anyway, we're not
today,
talking
folks?
about Metal Gear Solid today. We're talking about Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons, a game that I chose. So if it's all right with y'all, I'm going to do a quick brief on what this game is.
Yes, let's do it. Tell us what it's about, Jake.
So... Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons is developed by Starbreeze. They've made games, Chronicles of Riddick, Syndicate, The Darkness, a lot of great shooters, hopefully some that we'll play on this podcast.
Some fantastic games.
Mm-hmm. They also own Overkill, the team that makes the Payday games. And Brothers is a third-person kind of story-based game where the gimmick of the game is that you control two brothers, one with each joystick, and they're moved individually with each joystick. The game is also helmed by Josef Fares, who's a Swedish filmmaker. He's now working on A Way Out, which was announced at E3 this year. And the story is basically, hey, your dad's sick, go get this exotic thing to fix your father, and that's how the adventure starts.
But there are no real words. They speak either Simwish or
Thank
Swedish.
goodness. Okay, because I literally thought I had a Portuguese Steam account and I downloaded the wrong audio file. So I was gonna ask that real quick, but we figured it out. Thanks, guys. We got it.
What's interesting is I think Josef Fares he's Swedish, but also Assyrian as well. So the language in this game is based on Lebanese Arabic.
Okay, that's another thing. So there's a couple things they were saying, and I'm like, hey, that's kind of close to some kind of Arabic that I've heard before. But I thought that was just my brain going crazy like it usually does. But yeah, I can see that connection. I'm glad you brought that up.
The one
You're
guy's
welcome.
name, Naeem, I think is definitely a Lebanese name. That's what I called him, at least.
Yeah, the younger brother and
right.
the older brother.
Yeah.
So Jacob, tell us how the game, what the interesting thing about the game is.
So my experience, I'll start with my experience with the game, and then I'll ask you guys kind of what your experience is with it. So I played this game, I think about a year after it came out, because it was being talked about, as we've talked about in other episodes, been talked about on Game of the Year podcasts about hey, this game's really dope, you should check it out. I really wanted to play it because I have a younger brother as well. So that story of two brothers going on an adventure, like that's something that I was very interested in checking out. So I've played this game once before, about a year after it came out on Xbox 360, and I now have played the game for a second time on iOS. And I'm telling you right now, if you're listening to this and you haven't bought the game yet, do not play it on mobile.
All right, that's a good warning.
Yeah, and that's the reason for that is it uses virtual joysticks, and the platform like mobile was not made for a game like this, where essentially those joysticks are taking up a quarter of your screen real estate. Like it just doesn't work. It's a platform limitation, and I had some issues technically with the game on iOS as well.
So what platforms is it available on, and which one would you, I guess, if people want to play it, would you recommend them playing it on?
I would say get it on any platform that's not iOS, Android, or Windows Phone. It's available, I believe, on 8 platforms: PC, Xbox One, Xbox 360, PS4, PS3, Android, Windows Phone, and iOS. And that's pretty good. I'm not even reading that. Don't play it on mobile. Play it on any of the other platforms. So, Mike, why don't you tell us how you played it and what your experience with the game is?
Yeah, so very similar to you. I heard a lot of hype about it during Game of the Year discussions, and it was something that didn't initially strike my interest, but I decided to go back and play it after hearing, effusive praise, and it ended up becoming, I think, one of my favorite games of all time. I think it's something I would hold up as how games can be art, and how games can do storytelling in a way that can't be done in other mediums. And I initially played it on the Xbox 360, and I think this time as well I played it on the 360. So it was a good time. I can't wait to talk more about it. What about you, Mo?
Mo.
Well, for me, so I'm playing it on PC. I had a very unique, I guess, play experience with it. First of all, when I first launched the game, when I was playing it, it kind of gives you that prompt saying, hey, this game was designed to be played on a controller. Make sure you play it on a controller. And I was intending on playing it with my keyboard. So I reached out for my Logitech, gamepad, plugged it in, and I started playing it that way. But then it got to a point where I'm not sure if it was just me setting it up wrong. I think one of my joysticks had an inverted input type. So so what I ended up having to do, though, which kind of worked still, was I had my right hand on the joystick, on the gamepad, holding the controller, and then my left hand was on the WASD keys on the keyboard. And I was playing it with 2 different formats. It worked great, loved it. So it looks kind of weird, but it worked fine with my hands. My hands were able to process it. Fun. Yeah, but it was actually good, because one thing with me with games, and maybe you can tell by the previous podcast, is I'm a sucker for game mechanics, new ways of playing a game. And then when I first launched it, you kind of get control of those 2 guys, one with the left hand of the controller, the other one with the right hand, and you kind of move them independently. You kind of have to work that way. That instantly I was like, okay, this is going to be a good experience almost before I even got started playing the game. I thought it was a pretty cool thing. And once again, I knew nothing about it. This is one of the recommendations that I kind of was like, okay, let's install it, go into it blank, and kind of get some kind of honest reaction to the game itself. And I think I have a few points that I want to bring up later on. It was good.
What about you, Shane?
I'm in the same boat as Mo. I knew absolutely nothing about this game before I started. I had no expectations. I played on the PC using a PS4 controller, and my controller worked fine throughout the whole game, and so I just stuck with that. I really enjoyed it. I'm in the same kind of mindset as Jacob as well. I have a younger brother, and I was interested in kind of going on an adventure, and I really felt like they delivered.
Jacob, do you want to give us the intro to the story and then lead us into the first section?
Yeah, so the first section, basically the intro, like we said, there's no spoken dialogue, so everything in the game that happens from a story perspective is done through that language based on Lebanese Arabic, and also through kind of hand gestures. So what you learn is that in the opening, you're the younger brother, and you go through a sequence where you see who I believe is your mother drowning. So she drowns, she passes away, and the game fades to you in front of your mother's grave. To keep the sadness train rolling, you go into your house, and in the house, just want to make sure you can still hear me.
Yep.
In the house, you can hear, you can see your father, who is being treated by an archmaester or whatever. Basically, you need to get him some kind of mythical potion across the world to be able to heal him. So your older brother and you start on a journey across the world, I guess, to get this potion for your father to make sure he lives.
And so you control two brothers in the game, right? The older brother with one sick and the younger brother with the other.
Exactly. So very much like, I've only played another game, The Adventures of Cookie and Cream. I don't know if you guys played that PlayStation 2 game back in the day. Nope. Same concept, where you have two separate characters that with your left brain, right brain, you have to kind of control independently.
Interesting. The only game that I've played like this was Schism, which was an Xbox Live Arcade game that was almost like a twin-stick shooter and a puzzle game rolled into one, where you had to eat these dots with the right colored object. So it was the same idea of splitting your brain in half.
Yeah, which to me was kind of difficult at first, but I kind of got it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I found it a little bit difficult at first, the first time I played it. The second time around, because I kind of knew what I was getting into and that I had done it already, it became much easier.
Oh, really?
But I found that in a short amount of time, you can quickly adapt to it and learn how to control both of them.
Yeah, for me, I think I picked it up fairly quickly, even though I had the one keyboard in one hand and a controller in the other. It's at first your brain's what's going on? How do I control all these guys? Where are they going? But then you kind of I don't know, it kind of just works. There's some tricky parts later on in the game, but the mechanics, I think they were well done, even though I had to struggle with my keyboard.
Yeah,
I feel like.
Sorry, go ahead, Shane.
I feel like. For me, I started off really strong, and I got worse as I went along, actually. Maybe I just got too comfortable and stopped actively thinking about it. But
no, I think you're just speaking the truth. You're speaking the truth, and we're all confident about our gaming skills, and you're like, no, come on, guys.
It gets harder as it goes on, definitely.
Yeah.
At least that's what I found.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
What I enjoyed is that they kept giving you different ways to use those controls with different types of puzzles. Mm-hmm. But I think we'll get into that. Jake, what was the first section and what was your experience with it?
Yeah, so the game eases you in really well. It starts you off kind of in your backyard, kind of teaching you. I think the first thing you have to do in the game is carry your father in a wheelbarrow type device, and you have to do some very simple puzzles. So learn how to control him, how to control the brothers, and how to interact with things. And then I think in the first world, it shares pretty much all of the unique mechanics. So, example, there's a height. There's a ledge that's maybe 8 or 9 feet up. The younger brother's too short and he can't reach it by himself. And the older brother is the same. He can't reach it by himself. But you have to use both of them to kind of prop up the younger brother, who then sets a rope down. So it teaches you those unique brother mechanics, and then kind of eases you in as you get outside into the town and the farm into, hey, you can actually die now. So here's how you get past these puzzles.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really cool. Even later on in the game, that kind of progresses you. There's some things you'll be walking around with one brother to interact with, and nothing happens. And you kind of have to intuitively remember, okay, let me give this a shot with the other brother, because he's a different kind of character. So later on in the game, when you realize that, hey, this brother could do something this brother can't, you kind of always play around. So whenever you see an objective, you're like, how can I tackle this? Let's see what each one does and solve the problem using the two unique characters we have control of. It's cool.
I thought the two unique characters aspect was kind of inventive. I love the way that they implemented it. But the thing that really struck me in this first section was the style of the game. It's clearly not pushing crazy graphical powers, but everything looks so good.
Oh my gosh!
Yeah,
yes,
so
100%.
And they know it too. They leave those benches everywhere for you to look around.
Let's just take 5 minutes out of our day to take a look at this amazing vista, even though our father's dying.
Well, so I want to chime in on this too. Like this game in general, like, so I kind of just started dabbling into game development like a few months ago. And initially what it kind of seemed like is like the very standard like sample packages they kind of give you when you like install Unity or the Unreal Engine to kind of like test out the platform itself. They give you like characters and like cars and things like that. And like the graphics kind of look like that, but it shows like you don't need much to make like a great experience. If you have a good like art team and a good like scenery team, you can make like simple mechanics, because at the end of the day the only mechanics in this is moving a character along and an interaction button. That's all there really is. But this game is like, if I was to say that's my review of the game, I should be dismissed from giving any critical opinion about any game forever, because it was so much more than that. But you like Metal Gear, so I mean you're already on thin ice. This is
Stop crapping on Metal Gear. Like,
Metal Gear
off this
game.
podcast.
It's a great series.
Sure.
But yeah,
Sure.
no, it seems like a simple game when you first started, but there's some moments, like, I don't know if we want to jump into it right away, but there's that one level where you load in and there's those wolves. It's a completely dark scene, and all you see is eyes. And like, as you're moving on, like, one of the brothers has a torch, and if you get too close to a wolf, they like bite you, but you gotta kind of flail the fire to get them away from you. Just the scenery and the mood was incredible with something so simple as just shadows.
Yeah, I think the style, they do so much to set the mood. The style is definitely one of the aspects, but I think they do such a great job in that initial section developing the characters of the younger and older brother. Because in that initial section there's some kind of bully that prevents you from crossing the bridge, and then is always trying to prevent you from moving forward. And that's where you find the combination of, you know, the younger brother slipping through a gate, or the older brother lifting up a cage to allow him to get past.
You mean Wario's baby cousin that's just like,
yeah, exactly. Exactly, yeah. So I think they do a really great job setting up the characters and the relationship between the brother. I mean, early on, you get that moment where the younger brother won't go into the water without riding on the back of the older brother, which I thought was a great little moment, because games very often, I think, lose the fear of the character, because so much of it's a big power fantasy. You know, you give characters a whole bunch of different powers, but I think going back to what Mo was saying, of there's only like one real interaction button. And these characters don't have insane powers. They just have the ability to cooperate, which I think makes it that much more interesting. This
game design kind of took over, because like the development side, it's like I can't emphasize enough. Movement is pre-built when you use like the Unreal Engine or Unity. You just have to call specific functions. And the interaction button is just to click a button and do something. That's all it really is. There's nothing else. There's no real like other type of interaction, no other weird commands. It's kind of like once you get to a location, you do one thing or you don't do one thing. But the way it was designed, it makes it feel like it's so much more, which is great. Like, I can't emphasize how awesome it was, and how whoever designed it, they knocked it out of the ballpark.
Yeah, especially with the unique interactions. I mean, I keep thinking back to the sheep. So when you walk into the sheep pen and you have to actually grab one of the sheep to put it on that wheel, like that wheel.
Yeah.
I know that what I did, which I guess makes me partly a sadist, is I put the sheep on the bridge where like he would have to go up. So I put the sheep on the bridge, and when the bridge came up, like a potato bug, that sheep just kind of rolled very happily down the bridge. And I very loudly was laughing at just how charming that little like, no one had to take the time to make sure that sheep animated the way it did, but it was like super charming, and I really appreciated the little details that just made the game from a presentation perspective shine.
There are so many nice little ways to interact with the world, like spitting into the well as the two brothers, or knocking on the little tin pot over the campfire. There's all kinds of little things in the world that you can interact with that don't really have a gameplay reason, that it doesn't help solve a puzzle or move the story forward, but it helps add character and liveliness to the world. And that's something that I really appreciated.
Yeah.
And even the stuff like the giant. So when you get to the giant, which is a little further, even the way that he was animated, like there was charm, and like I thought that giant was really cute, and I
thought that giant was gonna kill us.
I thought he was cute.
Wait, are we talking about the crying giant?
Yeah.
Did you? Yeah. So I gotta ask this: were you guys wearing like headphones or anything when you were playing the game, or like off of a TV?
Yeah, off a TV.
On a TV.
So, I was playing with headphones.
Yeah, so I was playing with headphones, and you can I don't know. Did you guys hear him crying from a very like far distant way before you got to him? Yeah, so I did. So I can hear kind of just sniffling and crying, and I was like, "What is happening?" As you get closer, it's like louder and louder. So yeah, that's another thing. Like the sound is great, and it adds character. You can't emphasize it. I feel like we're saying so much about there's so much, but it's true. It's not to undersell it and saying it shouldn't have all that stuff, but it's like refreshing to kind of not expect much and get kind of blown away, because that doesn't really happen that often when you play a game.
It was really interesting with the troll too, because usually trolls are blocking you from passing bridges and stuff like that, and this troll was like all about helping you get to your destination.
Yeah, I was really skeptical of that troll the first time I played through, because I thought, if you think like mythologically or children's stories, trolls are exactly what you said. They prevent you from getting where you need to go, and he didn't seem happy when you found him. So I had no reason to think that he was going to help us. And then that leads into that moment where he grabs you and grabs both of you in each arm, and then jumps down a big hole down a waterfall. Which to me was one of the most amazing moments of the game.
Yeah, and to give context too, you're walking around and you hear that like troll start crying, and then once again there's no like speaking in the game, but you kind of see that something's wrong with him. And then like I can't remember if it was a cutscene or if it was while the gameplay was going on, he eventually helps you clear certain passages. Like there'll be like a gap between two locations. He'll stick his arms out to make like a bootleg ledge that you can like move across, or if you need to get across somewhere, he'll throw you or whatever it needs to be. He kind of fills the holes of like the landscape in order for you to keep advancing forward, and you have no idea why. You're just kind of going with the game. He was crying, he was vulnerable, and you're kind of like, okay, I'll just go this way with you. Well, I guess because there's no other path besides following him. But yeah.
Yeah, so he brings you underground. So I would almost say the game is very light and lighthearted. It's very storybook-esque, and then the troll takes you underground, where you have to save his lady troll friend, right?
which you don't know about. So at the same time, you're just kind of moving around underground, solving puzzles with your brother. And then you get to the lady friend who's trapped in a steel cage in the middle of this kind of arena. And you don't know
the great mines of Moria.
Yeah, and to be honest, when I first saw it, I didn't really realize that he led us down there to meet her. I just saw like just another troll that I have to help. And it wasn't until you kind of pass that portion of the game, that portion of the game, when you see, oh my gosh, this has something to do with that original troll. Maybe because I'm not paying attention to it, maybe you guys picked it up, but when I played it, I just saw, okay, it's another troll I have to help out. Let's just see what we can do.
Especially because he doesn't come with you throughout that underground sequence. It's not like he's a constant presence. So it's easy to forget about him and think that he was just helping you get down there, and that was where you needed to go before you got to the next section.
Yeah.
So I definitely didn't think that we were saving his girlfriend or wife until the very end when you see her.
And I have to say, when you trap, I don't know if Mo, you were going to say this, but when you actually trap the troll in the cage, like I was smiling the whole time because I'm like, hey, I got him!
Hey, let's talk about that actually. So it's essentially the first boss. Would you guys say that? So when you see the lady troll, what she end up pointing you to is she points to another troll kind of hiding behind this gate, and you have to use the younger brother because the younger brother is the only person small enough to go in between these like kind of like jail cell bars. So you lean over, you grab a key from this other troll that's kind of not facing you. You walk back to the lady troll and you release her steel cage that she's in. She gets out of it and just runs away. And then when she runs away, all of a sudden, the big troll guy that you took the key from, he kind of notices something's wrong and comes back and enters this arena with you and is looking for you. And you're kind of like stuck there, you and your brother, with a giant troll in the middle of the arena kind of hunting for you. And you have to figure out, like, how the hell do I tackle this? Does anyone else want to kind of carry on from here, how you kind of solve this, like, puzzle of a giant troll in the area? There's a cage in the middle. And there's you guys trying to kind of survive in this first boss game. And you have, once again, you have no weapons. All you have is an interact button and the game design to kind of defeat him.
Well, the puzzle portion of it seemed pretty clear to me of the little brother has to go through the gate and not step on any of the bones. But once that was finished, that's when I kind of, I died the first time.
No way!
Didn't know what to do next, yeah.
Oh, I don't know if, Shane, you were about to say that, but, like, for me, I got it, like, right away. I saw another set of, like, kind of jail cell bars. I knew the little brother was going to be the one to kind of win this portion of the game.
I was just going to ask if anybody beat it without dying.
Me, first try.
Wow.
First attempt. Maybe it was just a gut reaction, but I guess, do you want to set up how you defeat this guy, I guess? Spoiler alert.
Yeah, for me, I had the older brother, move the lever and open the cage, and then I was just thinking, like, how am I going to get the little brother in there and out? With the troll, and I died a few times doing that, but then eventually I kind of thought that there was a sweet spot near the opening, and he ran all the way in, and then I got out and trapped him. Yeah,
well, not to kind of be all in this portion, but for me, like, as soon as we got in there, that's what I did. I took the older brother to control the kind of, like, the gate area. I walked in and I screamed at the guy. So, like, I pressed the interact button and he screamed, like, hey, hello, or whatever that language is, saying, like, come over here. The troll saw me. The second I saw him come around to go into the cage, I just squeezed out and I closed it on him using the older brother who was next to the lever. And it was, I don't know if maybe just I was in the right place in the right time and it just kind of clicked, but it seemed like there's a cage. It was locked before. I have access to open and close it. My brain was like, all right, get him in here. If he's looking for you, let's make sure he finds you and go into the right spot.
That was my first thought too.
I was very happy to hear you guys say that because I played the game before, right? So I think I kind of remembered parts of it where I'm like, oh yeah, just like wherever there's a cage, the little brother can squeeze through.
Yeah.
So it didn't take me long to do it, but I would imagine the first time I did it, there was a little bit of trial and error with it.
Oh,
wait, so you got the brother out of the closed cage?
Yes, correct.
Oh, wow. No, that's not how I did it.
Oh, no, that's not how I did it at all.
Oh, really? Cool.
No.
How did you guys do it?
Wait, yes, Ruffolo, we're on the same team.
Yeah, Mo and I are on the same team here.
Wait, no, I don't like you. You don't like Metal Gear Solid. Never mind. I'm just kidding.
Now, Shane, did you not run with the little brother, like, you ran at the cage, and then you basically at the same time started crawling through the cage with the little brother and closing with the big brother, right?
Yeah, like I had the big brother, I just kept the cage open, and then little brother, he just went in like right around the corner of like the opening, and then as soon as the guy ran in, little brother ran out, and then I shut it. But yeah, I didn't slip through the cracks.
Oh, I slipped through the cage, so
Same.
you're the only one that did it.
Oh,
that
wow.
way.
I didn't know you. I didn't think of that.
Yeah, because you know how early on when you grab the key, he's kind of moving in like a cage-like gate that has the same like spacing as the actual jail cell place. So that's kind of why I did it. So you kind of just ran out really quickly and kind of like...
Yep.
Gotcha. Okay, yeah, that works. He's trapped.
I thought it was too tight for him to squeeze out.
No, but yeah, it works. At the end of the day, we trap the mean troll, and then as soon as you trap him, you see the female like troll come back and is like, hey, come up here, come this way. And she's like back kind of helping you up to get out of this arena, and you kind of advance forward. And is this when you see the husband troll, I guess? Is this that at this point? I can't remember.
Yeah, so the husband troll greets his wife or girlfriend or whatever, and then
you see it for the first time.
And then pushes you off into the next section, which is the mountain. And then
the sky, the more the sky section, right?
Right, exactly. So Jacob, do you want to walk us through that?
Yeah, so to me, all that I'm really great at taking notes sometimes. So my notes say, the goat section was fun. Hang gliders are awesome. Jack and the Beanstalk, ? Going up the castle, and then a bird takes flight. Those are my notes.
Right, yeah.
Oh, wow. So the only thing I remember in that is my favorite part from the game, which is the goat section where you like use these goats where you're like skipping or it reminded me a lot of the like climax of Journey. Or like that really nice moment in Journey when you're coming down and you're like surfing on the sand and the sunset pans. Like that is one of the most memorable gaming moments I've had in the past 10 years where you're like on the sand and then there's the camera pan and you see the sunset just beautiful. Like this section is very similar to that where you're like jumping on the mountain like little rocks and you're using the goat to jump over these little sections and make it to the top.
Yeah, that was definitely one of my favorite parts as well.
Yeah, it's kind of like if you ever imagined, like if you're able to in real life ride a mountain goat and like run up the side of a hill or like jump around on like different, that's exactly what's happening in the game. You find these goats, you jump on them and you can ride them so you get that speed boost, but you also get to just jump back and forth on different rock pieces to traverse the mountain, I guess, side. Yeah,
It's so fun to ride those mountain goats because they jump over these big ledges and on little pieces of stone in the same way that mountain goats can climb a mountain and rest their entire weight on, one little cliff, little cliff's edge. And they move so fast and, top over these little tiny bits that you would have a tough time doing yourself. Yeah. And the other thing is, up until this point, I'd been thinking that the jumping powers of the brothers, that they were essentially billy goats because they scale vertical ledges really quickly. They make really long jumps. So I thought it was only fitting that, I had thought of them as essentially billy goats and then they hop on top of these mountain goats and then speed off into the vista up the mountain.
I have a suggestion for us. We need to open a goat business called Left Behind Goat Club.
No goat left behind.
No goats
I've already
left behind.
purchased the domain.
You already... Great. Can I suggest a few like slogans for our business?
Shane, you have to get the social handles.
Get on that because
yeah, okay, sure.
At the Left Behind Goat
Twitter
Club,
goats.
we'll jump for joy with goats.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Your marketing responsibilities have been revoked.
Yeah, so on the next episode of Left Behind Game Club, Mo, Shane, and I will be playing a different
Left Behind
game.
Jacob Club.
Yeah, no, the goats
Are you guys goading me right now? Because that's not very nice.
This has to end.
The goat.
This has to end.
The Left Behind Goat Club, where
so after you ride the mountain goats, you are left to an area, correct me if I'm wrong, where there's a mad scientist in Einstein who creates a hang glider that after solving a simple gear puzzle. Oh, did we skip a part?
Yeah, well, I wanted to ask, did anybody find... It's like a little side quest. I don't really think it adds or takes away from like the game like at all, like other than like me experiencing it. But did you guys find the guy with the burned down house?
No.
Oh, okay. Well, I found a side quest, and I was going to ask a different question, but if none of you guys found him, I'll just explain it.
No, tell us about it.
So there's a little section. I don't remember what it was for. It was definitely before the goats, but you could make a right on the road, and there was a guy, and he had tied himself in a noose.
Oh,
he was going to hang himself.
That's when it got dark real quick.
Yeah, but so I found out that if you were the little brother couldn't lift him. So then I purposely died and then reset back to that point. And the big brother can lift him, and then the little brother can untie him, and then he just sits there on the ground and cries. But if you look into it further, there's clearly been a fire in what looks like a house, and the younger brother can squeeze in there, and he gets a little box of some kind and gives it to the crying guy, and who just tried to kill himself. And then he plays it's a music box. He plays the music box, and then they have a funeral for his family.
Wow! So I just left him crying. I didn't even care.
Oh well, if you would have left him, he would have been dead.
I got the box, but I figured that was just part of the story. I'd forgotten about it because there's so much memorable stuff in that stretch that I just forgot about.
Forgot about Noose Dude.
No, I just saved him and then I let him cry.
Oh, okay.
I saved him, and I just never thought of him as the burned down house guy.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I thought he was just like gothic
described him
and
as the hanging guy.
But did you see the burnt bodies underneath the towel? Yeah. So they bury them. If you give them the music box, there's a little cutscene where they bury those bodies and they say some kind words in Singlish.
So in case it was missed in the original recording, we have to emphasize this, even though it's kind of gruesome. You're walking along, happy game, kind of like dark and positive moments, and you see a guy hanging himself and like choking on like the edge of this like rope, and you have a quick opportunity to save him. This is completely like blindsided. I didn't really expect it. It was like, okay, what is going on? What kind of game is this changing into? Because originally you're like, okay, your dad is sick, you're saving him, there's a troll. And then, holy crap, someone's hanging themselves and committing suicide. Like, good morning type situation.
I wonder if there's a reason why his house caught on fire. Because, like, as far as the story goes, I don't really think it fits in. Oh, okay. Life insurance, house insurance.
It's all insurance money.
That makes a lot of sense, actually. All right, let's
You're
move on.
You're a twisted dude, man.
Or, like, yeah, he was going for the Cleveland Cavaliers for the NBA championship, and then they lost.
He realized that his goat business was a bust, so then he decided to burn his house down. It's a conspiracy. It's a goat-spiracy.
Stay woke.
Please stop me. Please stop me.
So here's something that I want to mention in this section. This is where I first had the real realization that Joseph Fares had like a real hand in making this. Because you see a lot of like cinematic touch points throughout. It's the director. He's a film director who was the lead director on this game. And you can see that they're like, just in terms of like the storytelling of this game, it's one of the very few that does the and back on the ranch moments. So I think it's just before you get on the billy goats. It cuts back to your father and the monk / priest / doctor who's trying to take care of him. And it sort of reminds you of the stakes at hand. And, I've heard a whole bunch about script writing and screenwriting and things like that. And one of the very common things that it says is to, always go back on the ranch to have different peaks and valleys in the story and to remind people of what the stakes are. And when I saw it again this time, it made me think there are not many games that I know that cut away to a different part that isn't the main character to remind players of what's going on in the story. And I thought it was, a really nice touch. And then the other thing that made it for me a little bit more cinematic was the angles that it puts you at. They play with the camera a lot in this game, and it gives you a real sense of verticality and depth. Specifically when you're in the mines and you're looking down a lot, you see trolls working and mining below you, and you see like their silhouettes or shadows in campfires and things like that. And it's just nice cinematic touches that I don't think most games pay attention to.
I just want to ask, camera control. My camera control was like swiping on the iOS device. You obviously can't move the camera with your joysticks, so do you have to move the camera at all? Do you even know how?
I feel like, but I honestly very rarely touched the camera controls. Like,
same here.
I didn't really agree with where the camera was at all times, but I kind of just dealt with it because
exactly
camera control was kind of hard. Anyways, because like there were some times where you just couldn't move it, so those buttons weren't even responsive all the time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I worked around it. Mm-hmm. It's not that I had issues with it. So I kind of understood that they were locking the camera for a reason. But yeah, I appreciated the way that it gave the game a bit more of a cinematic touch.
Yeah. By the way, this is just from the sense of how everyone's talking. This is probably the first game where everyone's has like an overall general positive experience. We haven't really said a single critical thing, so get ready. Get ready for my comments.
Sorry, what were you gonna say, Shane?
So my just one thing that kind of took me out of the game a little bit, like not really like a big thing, but those rope and ladder puzzles where the big brother has to lift little brother up. They just weren't very realistic to me. Like they didn't need, like, you go to Giant Land and there's a broken ladder that I've seen before, and it's just like, why? Why can't you make a different ladder or just a different type of puzzle to get up there or something? And I get it. It was simple.
Yeah, I just struggled why they needed it more than once or twice.
They used it like a million times, and I just kept going through it, and I'm like, all right, we're at a giant castle, and there's a mini ladder. All right, we're in a normal place.
How do we get to the
ladder.
giant castle?
Oh, wait.
You go up you're on the hang glider.
Hang glider.
The hang glider. So the hang glider moment for me, I don't know about you guys. I thought that was
fun
amazing.
With the hang glider moment.
That was so fun. It reminded me, if we're going back to Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah, it was cool.
My favorite Colossus, the one that swoops down and you climb on its back, and it gives you that real rush, that sensation. It brought me back to that moment, and I realized any moment in games where you're suddenly flying and moving much faster than you normally do is a high point.
Now,
did anybody let a brother?
What?
Did anybody let a brother drop just for fun?
Yes. I did. I did on accident.
You guys are dark.
On accident. I wasn't intending to, but I let go of like the interact button, and he let go. I have to kind of nitpick.
I let go of the button.
Yeah.
I let go.
I'm gonna nitpick and say this part was incredible. The experience is great, but my biggest annoyance with it was when you're in the hang glider, it's great to kind of like move the brothers along and use like their weight to shift the direction. But I almost felt like it was already a set direction it was sending you on, and you're just very lightly influencing its path. Like you can go left and right, but it's kind of following the same. You're going down a wide slide, and almost no matter what, you're kind of generally find your way through it. There's not really much freedom.
Did anybody
but
crash?
At the same time, no.
No. But they do a really great job at giving you that sensation that you're about to.
Yeah, no, you totally can crash. I tried that too.
I just mean at the end of that hang glider area. Of course, you guys let a brother drop and intentionally crashed your hang glider before you finished it.
Yeah, no, that was a good like moment though. It was like you feel like you're hang gliding. It's strange.
Yeah, no, that's partially why I let him drop towards the end, because I wanted to do it again.
I don't know. I'm Team Goat, so sorry guys.
You like goats better than hang gliders?
Goats beats hang gliders every day.
All right. Well, you know it doesn't beat goats.
Battlestar Galactica?
Yes, Battlestar Galactica.
Metal Gear Solid.
One of my favorite puzzles is in the giant castle section, and it's using that rope that ties the two brothers together, and how you have to swing up from ledge to ledge. I thought that was such a fun way to add a different style of puzzle. Even though it wasn't that much different than the other ones, I thought it was just fun enough that it was changing things up a little bit, section by section.
Yeah, it's pretty unique. Like, so you once again, to emphasize it, your two brothers are tied together using a rope. So when you're traversing like the walls or the ledges, if like you let go of one brother, they can kind of swing using the anchor point of the other brother holding onto the wall, and swing left and right using their body to get to another portion left or right. So it's kind of like they kind of did like a whole Assassin's Creed like new way of like jumping around ledge to ledge. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, I just struggled with it on mobile just because those virtual joysticks were a pain in the butt.
It's probably a nightmare.
It was my nightmare. I was sweating, I was swearing, and I just didn't want to do it anymore. I wanted my goat. Braid. I wanted to be part of my goat business. I didn't want to do this anymore.
Yeah, for mobile, I saw like a little video of it on mobile, and I saw the joysticks. But what were the trigger commands on your phone? Like, how did you interact?
You would have to actually push into the joystick. So it was a bit of I think it was probably a little bit more forgiving design-wise, but I actually posted on my Twitter, Evan Narcissus, I think I said his name right, he wrote up a story on Kotaku in 2015 that is titled "Don't Play Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons on iOS," and it has a pretty good breakdown of what the problem here with it is. So if you're interested, at Jacob McCourt on Twitter, you can see that. Don't Play Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons on iOS on Kotaku.
Final warning.
That's cool.
Yeah, if you haven't heard it loud enough already.
Don't play Brothers on mobile. Okay, I won't mention it again.
So we're at the Giant's Castle. We've done some swinging up. I think we get into the house, and we see that there's this little griffin or something trapped in a cage, and then you end up freeing it, and then with any winged beast that you free, I think you then start riding on its back.
That's the rule.
That's a general rule in this game.
It was all bloody, though. Yeah, I didn't think it was going to be able to fly.
Yeah, I didn't think it was going to be either.
It seemed like he was banged up, like on the ground, bleeding. I guess.
Why was it in a cage? If it, like, I didn't really.
Well, there were drawings on the wall, and it looked like the giant or regular sized person, and we're just tiny. I couldn't tell which one it was sitting there and drawing the face of the griffin beast.
You saw another person in that room?
No, but there were drawings up on the wall, and they looked like they had been like sketches. Someone trying to draw it. So to me, it seemed like they were keeping it captive, so that way they could use it as a subject for their drawings.
Yeah. It probably tried to escape and like banged itself up like on the sides of the cage.
Yeah.
True.
Sad bird.
Yeah. Anyways, bleeding griffin. Bleeding griffin. Yeah.
So we take the bleeding griffin, and then we are left in a war zone where there are dead giants everywhere.
And the griffin also died.
Yeah.
That was sad. I love that griffin for like the short amount of time we were with it. Like when he died, I was like, oh no.
Well, yeah, you rescue it, and then it takes you away to the mountainside, and as soon as it drops you off, it seems like it just dies. It's just like, oh, I'm too tired. Bleh.
Yeah.
Maybe he's just taking a nap.
And then we can't.
Let's just say that. He's taking a nap.
And then you get to this mountain / new area, and there's just like dead, like giant, like almost like God of War, like titans that are on the side of the mountain just bleeding in the river and stuff like that.
Most favorite section. He's like, yes, there is death, there is war. This is a
like
video
blood
game.
flowing through the river.
Where is my first-person shooter? Anyways,
yeah. It's funny because the section before that reminded me of Jack and the Beanstalk, like big time.
Yes,
I don't know why. It was less fantastical, but as soon as I got to the battlefield, all I could think of is Gulliver's Travels.
Oh yeah.
That's where my mind went.
Wait, what is that? What are you guys referring to? It's
a story. I can't tell you who the writer is, but it's a story essentially where there are giants in the world and also very, very small ant-sized people, these ant-sized people have to wrangle these giants. There's more to the story than that, but that's essentially it.
Didn't Jack Black play Gulliver in the movie?
In the movie adaptation of the fairy tale, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, so
very cool.
Don't watch that though.
Yeah, don't. It's a very bad movie.
Okay, great.
Anyways,
don't play Brothers on mobile, and don't watch Gulliver's Travel with Jack Black.
We're making a list, and we're checking it twice.
Done. Yeah. This is after we start our goat business.
Yeah.
But before we start the goat business, we have to impale a dead body with a crossbow.
Oh my god!
That was
and sever some limbs.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Sever
Do you guys
some
remember
limbs.
the axe? When it fell, like the guy's leg fell off. It was like Play-Doh.
Yeah. So I guess more to give context to that, when you're moving around, you find yourself like interacting with giant weapons, and they interact with those giant like titans that are laying on the side of the mountain. They're like dead titans. So the one that you have to do is you find this giant crossbow. So you use the two brothers, one on each side of the crossbow, to pull back like the tension on it. And then you go to the back of it, you fire the trigger, and you realize, holy crap, it's pointed directly at this other titan's head. You shoot him, and he kind of like, I guess, reveals the new area because the body falls down. You kind of move that way.
And his arm moves out of the way.
The bodies hit the floor.
Follow.
The bodies hit the floor, exactly. And then with the axe, that one's probably the craziest one. I can't remember how it was initiated, but you eventually drop a giant axe that falls on the limb of one of these titans, and it now becomes just like a loose object the size of like a giant, like a trunk of a tree, just kind of hang there. Now you can kind of move on to the next area. Pretty gruesome.
So then what's the next area?
I think after you get there, you go down into a snowy area, and is that not where you meet our lady friend?
I think you're right.
Yeah, you end up at that blood ritual place.
Yeah.
With those like
Oh yeah.
Where you have to pretend to be their god.
That was amazing.
That was cool
so
though.
Good.
Yeah.
When the kid was going, ooh, I was dying with the headphones on.
Yeah, so this one is pretty. It was pretty cool. So you land there and you see like these Mayan like ritual people like kind of grunting and like doing a bunch of stuff, and there's like a flow of blood from, I guess, the blood from all those guys in the mountain in the battlefield. You end up covering yourself with the blood and you become all red, and then you see a little emblem of like a person kind of standing on top of each other. So you tell your little brother, hey, go on my shoulders. You walk up to these Mayans and they think you're some like god of some kind, and they move out of the way, and you end up rescuing this lady. And she follows you along, realizing that you're not a god, you're just two kids stacked up on top of each other. and you escape like the little Mayan like tribal area, and these guys are just watching you.
A real Scooby-Doo moment for sure.
BoJack Horseman reference right there.
Oh, really? No, it was I thought it was pretty cool. Just the way it was done. And once again, the mechanics, you're moving around and you're just pressing an interact button. The landscape and whatever's happening in the landscape kind of makes the story great. Yeah.
And so
except this lady sucks.
But you don't know that yet.
Oh, but did you guys notice?
The older brother starts falling in love.
Yeah.
You can tell that he's smitten with her.
What do we notice, Shane?
I noticed right away that there was something up with her, because she was like way faster and like stronger and more agile than the two seeming. I think they were probably like teenage boys. And
I didn't know anything. I thought she was.
That's a good point. She has some crazy long jumps that she makes.
She's fast. She's like jumping. She can
and
throw
she crawled
rocks
over a log really quickly too.
Yeah, I thought she was just like a princess with superpowers. Gave her the benefit of the doubt.
Yeah,
and
so these were the rules of the world, that you can climb up mountains very quickly and ride.
Yeah, so why did we give her the benefit of the doubt? I guess who wants to kind of take on this next section?
Why did we give her the benefit of the doubt?
Yeah,
I think Big Brother did. And I think we know why.
Explain it in words, Shane.
This is a clean podcast.
What do you mean the blood was in his head?
Oh no, I didn't say that. I said
I don't understand.
Anyways,
you explain?
Yeah.
So
go ahead, Mo.
Mo, save us.
Yeah.
Okay. So, anyways, because it's kind of almost like I'm almost drawing a blank. So you follow is this when she takes you, I guess, underground? Is that where we are?
Mm-hmm. So first we start.
Where was the blood? Where was it?
No, Michael, go.
So we end up getting to an outside snowy area after she allows us to be rescued. And we find a big mama turtle with none of her babies nearby. Somehow she's lost them. So you and your brother pick up the little turtles and you drag them over and you splash them in the water. And then the mother doesn't even say thank you. She doesn't let you ride on her back. She just leaves.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Never appears again.
Yeah.
But after that, you then move on to, I think, a section where you stumble across a big castle with a bunch of people's bodies snowed over. And
ooh, that's scary.
Yeah, it was pretty scary.
But did you notice that they just
using
turned
a big
into
catapult? Snow? Yeah, they're just snow, so you can't. At least I couldn't tell if they were initially people. They looked like they were people that were fighting to get into the castle. But I think you come to find out once you're inside that they're maybe trying to kill the thing that is inside the castle and not trying to get in.
Did anybody get caught by that invisible giant?
Yes, like twice.
I did.
Oh, okay, because I'm thinking maybe he turned them into snow. Maybe that's...
Yeah, I didn't.
Maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, so essentially you're in there and you see all these like frozen, I guess, people, but they're all made out of snow, and you see giant footsteps of like a giant, I guess, Bigfoot /
Yeti.
Yeah, that's just like hunting around. And every time it comes near you, you kind of hide behind the people made out of snow to kind of mask yourself and then walk around them. And then eventually you get to a place where you're escaping from him and you get inside of a house. And then he walks up to the house, picks it up, and throws it. And then the chase begins where you're running away from this giant invisible Yeti where you can only see the feet until you get to this bridge. Whereas once you cross it, it's kind of like the Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship, where like the Balrog falls through and he falls through. But luckily, he doesn't grab you with a whip or anything. He just kind of falls to his doom once you cross the bridge and you move on to the next place.
And then as soon as that whole castle town section is finished, you're outside of the city, and the girl, the lady, the woman, the future spider, ends up saying, "Hey, you should come down into this hole here. I'm gonna."
Don't go in the hole.
Don't go in the hole.
If a stranger asks you to go in their hole, you don't go in the hole.
Isn't it what you learn as a kid? Don't take candy from strangers. Look both ways when you cross the street. Don't go into a hole.
I didn't realize why. I don't know why.
Number 3 lesson for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the younger brother says to the older brother, like, we should not go down that hole. And the older brother, in all of his wisdom, says, but I really like this girl.
He's selfish. His father is dying.
Yeah. Yeah.
Guys,
so you end up going down in the hole, and it switches to a side view. It made me think of what's it called? Shadow Syndicate? No, the XBLA game.
Shadow Complex.
Shadow Complex. That's it. Metroidvania style game from the
developed by Chair.
Yes, Chair, exactly. And so you end up seeing all kinds of mummified bodies and a nest, and you realize that you're walking towards it, but you have no choice because she's behind you. And as you move forward and get inside, she transforms. She turns the light in the cave off, turns into a giant spider. And now you understand why the tribe was trying to sacrifice her.
Yeah, and it's literally like Lord of the Rings reference once again when Frodo's caught in that spider area, and you're like, there's nowhere you can go. You're inside of a spider nest, a giant spider nest, and I guess it sets it up. The younger brother is inside of I guess, you know those giant like water bubbles where you go inside the bubble and you go like run across a lake? You've probably seen them online. You're kind of moving around in this giant bubble while your older brother is getting attacked by a spider.
What a reference. Yeah, it reminded me exactly of that mini game in Fusion Frenzy of trying to bump, or in Mario Party, trying to bump people off of the edge.
Yeah, that was a
bumper
fun
balls.
Yes.
Yeah, it was cool.
You're in a giant hamster ball.
Super monkey ball.
Exactly.
Exactly.
So you guess here's another boss battle where you kind of have to use the younger brother to build momentum to knock into the spider. The spider gets knocked over on its back, extends a limb, and then you use the older brother's bigger strength to rip off the limb. It's kind of pretty gruesome. And you do this until she probably has, 2 limbs left?
Yeah, just 2 front legs.
And then the worst thing that could possibly happen, which I didn't believe, she stabs the older brother through the stomach, like with one of her legs. And you're kind of like, wait, what? Like, the game isn't over. Like, we still have like an objective.
That's not how it's supposed to go.
Yeah,
That's not how it's supposed to go.
But see, it was only...
I was shocked. I was shocked.
Yeah. I didn't believe it. I thought, this is like a dream or something, because like it can't end now. Like, what do you mean? Like, there's still a story. We didn't even what's the dad? Like, how? I've never seen a game like abruptly kind of like hit you with something like this. When like now it's like, okay, you don't even know what's going to go on after this. Like, how does the game progress?
I thought, okay, maybe we're near the end. Maybe we're going to get the cure and it's going to fix him. And then I thought, okay, if that doesn't happen, how do I get back? It took both of us to get here. How do I get back without him?
Exactly.
I don't think there is a direct path back either.
Yeah.
We flew half the way, so.
Yeah. So brother gets stabbed. Mo, what happens next?
So from just my memory, I'm not sure if I'm missing anything, and someone chime in if I am. This is when like he's dying. You end up getting the I guess the water, the mystical water or whatever it is.
From the Tree of Life.
Yeah, from the tree. So it's another little puzzle where you just use the younger brother. You give it to the older brother. He drinks it, but like nothing really happens like this. He's not being healed or anything like that. And then is this when that next like kind of mission happens where you start digging the grave and you start slowly walking to the brother and then like dragging him slowly into the grave? Did I jump too far ahead?
After his
that's it.
Yeah, after the scene where he like is confirmed dead.
Yeah, your walking speed goes down like maybe like 75%, and you have like a slow, like paced walk. And you know what? I have a good explanation of this one. Metal Gear Solid 4.
Oh, get out of
Falling through the microwaves.
At the very end, when you're tapping the button, trying to crawl your way out. Okay, whatever. We know.
The same tension is going on. You're like walking to your brother's body, dragging him slowly into this pit that you dug away, and you're kind of like connecting the dots. Wait, what? How is it ending? What is happening?
Yeah, they could have done that. They could have done that really poorly. I mean, I think of that Call of Duty. I want to say Advanced Warfighter, where, or Advanced Warfare. Sorry, where you like have to press X to pay respects. Like you could really mess that up, and like that's a big risk to do something like that and not have someone laugh at it or completely take you out of the experience. But I'd like to say that like it fit, and I liked it. It fit really well.
That moment was such a climax for me.
Yeah.
I felt like I had lost my other half.
100%.
It felt so awkward to only control one brother.
Yeah.
it was the closest that I think I could ever come to understanding what it's kind of like to lose a brother. I mean, I only have a sister and we're not that close. And I've always wondered what it was like to have a brother. And I feel like this is the closest I'll ever get to understanding what it's like to lose someone that is so close to you. In a way I think only a brother can.
We're your brothers.
Aw, okay, great. Thanks, guys.
But you have to open a goat business. That's the deal.
Only if you open the goat business.
No goat left behind.
Then I guess from there, like, I don't know if I think I cried at the end, not there, but I will admit that I cried. Yep. No. And I played the game before.
I teared up. Yeah.
So you get on this griffin again and go back home.
Exactly. And you give your dad, I guess, the potion. And
But I mean, before that, I think there's some important things before that.
Oh yeah, definitely some important things.
So when you get back, you have to conquer your fear of the water. That so far you've been able to avoid because you had an older brother there, and now out of necessity, you have to conquer that fear and swim, and get the medicine to your father. But I don't know about you guys, but I kept playing when I looked down at the controller as if I had both brothers. I was using both joysticks in the same direction, trying to control as if there were two brothers, because my mind still hadn't processed that, one of them.
It's a one-handed game
gone.
now.
Yeah, exactly. And it felt so awkward being a one-handed game that it, again, left me feeling like there was something missing, that there was a sense of loss.
I wonder if that was a conscious design decision to go, let's put the little brother on the right stick so that when your older brother passes away, it's going to feel, one, already awkward, but two, what game do you move unless you change the settings with the right stick?
That's a good point.
From a development point of view, it's already built that like any input coming from the right side of the stick is going to be related to the brother. So there's no way of telling whether or not they actively did that, but they don't really need to change anything to keep the mechanics the same. I think they just, once the brother was dead, the inputs coming from the left side just didn't do anything or activate anything. So I don't know.
I mean, like, was it a design? Why can't I say design decision at the beginning to
did
say?
They intentionally put them
did
there?
they intentionally do that so that you would feel even more awkward?
Oh, maybe. Yeah,
having
okay.
someone with the right only.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like at one point was the little brother ever on the left stick, and then at the end realized, it makes more sense to put it on the right stick, so it's more jarring.
Maybe, yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't. To be honest, with the whole experience of it, I feel like this was a well thought out game. Every little bit of it was well thought out, and
when he learned how to swim, like when you guys figured out to press the left toggle and stuff, does anybody have like vibrate on their controller?
Nope.
So
I played iOS. No.
So when you you're trying to figure out how to get him in the water, and then you press the left toggle, the brother's toggle, and he starts swimming. There's a very powerful vibration that goes through the controller that really makes it seem like you're breaking through something or something like that.
Cool.
I thought that was a really cool effect.
100%.
Because you were already feeling, well, at least I was feeling a little emotional because of the loss of the brother, and
for sure.
Just that half of the controller just felt empty. And then when you found a use for it again, and you were able to move forward, it was an interesting pattern of vibration they used, and I just thought it was pretty effective.
Yeah.
When I was playing it on mobile, and you go as a little brother up the tree to grab the potion or the serum, whatever, there was a heartbeat on the virtual joystick, and then I heard a dum 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 dum.
Oh,
and he was slowly fading away, and you could see it and hear it as you got further up the tree. The heartbeat actually slowed down, and I believe at one point it actually as you were right to the top, it stopped completely.
Oh no!
Didn't pick that up.
Whole different experience with headphones.
That's amazing.
Yeah, whole different experience on mobile and with headphones in.
But don't play it on mobile.
Don't play it on mobile.
I don't know if anyone's been listening so far, but I think the one thing they can take away is don't play it on mobile.
Yeah. And Jacob wants to open a goat business.
Yeah.
All of us want to open a goat business.
So the final sequence, I guess, since we're kind of there, is what happens days after your father gets the serum, right?
Yeah, so he recovers, and then it goes to a cut where he's standing at the grave of his wife, and you as the younger brother walk over behind him, and he breaks down, and you're left standing there trying to console him and trying to figure out what your life now looks like. And the game then, the camera pans behind or into the distance out behind the younger brother's head, and that's the end. Then the credits roll.
That's what got me. That
Yeah.
the
That
father,
scene.
like, because there was a delay in when the father, like, realized that he was in front of the grave and he had now a dead wife and a dead son, which no parent should ever have to, like, bury their children. But there was a delay, and then he just broke down, and that's when I started. I'm just like, oh my God, I'm crying. Oh my God.
Mm-hmm. For me, it was playing without the other brother. That was the thing that hit home the most. And I think for me, it was because that is the one way that, like, this is the only way that I think this story could be told. You can't have that same impact if this was made as a movie or if it was made as a TV show. Like, it is the way that it could only be made as a game. Sort of in the same way that you can't tell Braid a different way. So yeah, I thought that was amazing. It was, for me, when you had to play without the other brother, that I had those tears welling up and that sense of loss.
When the brother first died and the griffin came back, another griffin came to pick him up. I thought about that too, and I was like, the only thing that would make me feel the slightest bit of comfort if that ever happened to me was like cuddling with my dog or something like that, like something fluffy and soft. And yeah, I totally, like, when the griffin gave him a hug or whatever, and he was like kind of crying into its feathers and stuff, I was like, oh, okay, that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's the end of the game. What final thoughts do you guys have based on what we've played and discussed? Mo, do you want to start?
Yeah. Final thoughts. Like, wow, great game. Top to bottom, storyline, mechanics. It had like everything I kind of look for in like a gaming experience. Like, it challenges you a bit, even though some of the bosses were kind of, I guess, easy from my point of view. But like, the storyline was great. Each time you went to a new location, it was different, even though once again you're just moving around and pressing an interact button. It didn't feel like that. I felt like I was getting a new experience every time I got to a new location. A little bit of problem solving here and there. Visually, it was incredible. I feel like I'm talking too highly of it, but at the same time, I feel like it deserves it. It's all around, like, I've seen some like AAA titles that don't even come close to like affecting me, like, with a good storyline and having good mechanics. And this one, it was really well done.
Jacob, what's your take?
I mean, I was the one that suggested we play this game. Brothers would definitely be in my top 10 games of all time, just because there are very few games that do what Brothers, A Tale of Two Sons does emotionally. I feel like a games going forward, there will be others. I think of, I played Virginia recently, and Virginia is an even shorter game. It's like 90 minutes, and it tells a very linear story, but the story is like super well done. There's a sequence in Virginia, and I'll stop talking about Virginia in a second, but that, because this is not the Virginia cast, but there's a sequence in Virginia that I argue is one of the greatest sequences in video game history, but more on that later. It does what very few games do from a storytelling perspective, and you have to play it.
What about you, Shane?
Yeah, no, I'd come into this game not knowing what to expect at all, and as soon as I started playing it, I was like into it like right away. I really enjoyed the aspect of the game of how it was like a single sitting kind of game. I've never played a game that I've beat in one sitting before, so I thought that was really cool. And yeah, just the story, the character depth, and the puzzles and everything, like, it was all very well put together. So I really enjoyed it. I'd probably give it like 9.5 mountain goats out of 10.
Fantastic. I would give it a dead spider out of 10. It's one of my favorite games. I'm so glad Jacob suggested that we play this again, because for me, I think it's that perfect example of doing something that can't be done in a different medium, or can't be done with the same impact. It makes it being a video game special, and then more than that, it's got a great style and a realized world that I don't think we see often. And I was so glad that I got to go back to this world, and it's made me so excited to play A Way Home or A Way Out when it comes out, the next game from the director of this one, Joseph Fares.
Yeah, because he created a studio, Hazelight, right? That's the name of the studio.
Exactly. Yeah.
And EA has essentially revived their partners program, but they're not calling it that, right?
That's exactly it.
Okay. Yeah, I'm excited to play it too. It looks... what game can you think of besides maybe Kane and Lynch that looks like that?
Yeah. I'm just excited to have more of these cooperative-esque games.
Yeah, I want to add one more thought too, I think, with the game. It's not really a negative, but it might be seemed as a negative. So game came out in 2013. Right now, it's currently sitting on Steam at $16.99. Now, it's an incredible game. I loved every bit of it. But if I was going to recommend it to a listener, I'd say, you know what? Don't buy it full price. Not because it's a bad game at all, but I feel like this is one of those games that can easily pop up on a Humble Bundle or a Steam sale. If you ever see anything off of it, I think that's the time to pull a trigger. You're going to love it regardless. I don't think it's worth $16.99 just because I wouldn't replay it, but I'm so happy I did play it the first time, and I'm so happy I got it. I don't know if that's kind of saying it's great, it's bad at the same time, but I think that's just one thing. If I was talking to myself in another dimension and I hadn't played it, I'd say yes, if it goes on sale ever, it's an instant buy, instant play, but don't really pay full price because I feel like you can get replayable games for $16.99.
I feel like that's your way of skirting the games versus time argument real close there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I feel like it's important to reiterate as well about not playing on mobile, because on mobile it only costs $3.99.
Okay, I'm done. I like
Shane a lot. Shane can stay. Mike, you're off the podcast because you don't like Metal Gear Solid, and Mike, Shane's taking your place.
Great. Okay.
Keep people around who are agreeable
and sensible.
Yes, of course.
You mean agotable?
Yeah, you're gone, Mike.
God.
Mike, you're definitely gone.
Oh. So all of us are taking this game with us. No one's leaving it behind. Mike, why don't you close the show and try and do better this week?
Do we want to mention the next game, maybe?
Thanks for throwing to me, Jake.
Next game. Right, sorry.
Alrighty. So, ladies and gentlemen.
Go for it, Mal. What are we playing next week?
Okay, so today I have the opportunity to reveal the next game for the Left Behind Game Club. This power doesn't come to me that often, but I think it's time to announce it. The game we will be playing is Super Mario Galaxy. Yeah, no, I'm super excited. I've played Super Mario Sunshine. If anyone else hasn't played it, I'd say, man, give it a shot. But Galaxy is the one we're going to be playing along. And I think we'll try to split it up, maybe. We'll see how it goes, because it's a pretty long game, but I've heard great things, and after playing Super Mario Sunshine, I'm excited to kind of give this a shot, and I hope you guys are excited too, because I haven't played it. And yeah.
We'll throw it up on the website, what we're playing up to for the first episode, and then we'll also throw that up on our Twitter account. If you guys have any suggestions of the games that we should be playing next, you can reach out to us on Twitter at Left Behind Club. You can follow me at Ruffolo M. Mo, where can the people follow you at?
M. Murtadi, everywhere.
Jacob, where can they follow you at?
At Jacob McCourt on everything.
And Shane, where can everyone find you?
You can find me at Chiasson on everything. ChiaSSoo.
Fantastic. So if you could all do us a favor, and if you enjoyed this podcast, go and rate it on iTunes. Give it a 5, because like I said in the past, our podcast is only worth a 5-star rating. And if you don't think it isn't, then you can take a break. You can take a walk, kick some rocks.
I'm on board with that.
Fantastic. So with that, we're so happy to have you. So happy to have you go and rate us on iTunes. And thanks for listening.
Take care, guys.
That's the end of the
thanks
podcast.
for having me, guys. Happy to join the club.
See you, Shane.
Fantastic. Thanks for joining us, Shane.
What's the name of the podcast again, Mike?
The Left Behind Game Club.
Did you say it, or am I just like grinding your gears real good?
You're grinding my gears real hard.
Did I do good?
Hey, Jacob, you want to sing us out?
Yeah, sing us out.
I would love to. Closing time. The last call for alcohol. So finish your whiskey or beer. I know who I want to take me home. Did you mute me?
No, you're good. We're just keeping you going.
I know who I want to take me home.
Why would we talk to interrupt that?
I know who I want to take me home. Take me home.
I really hope this is like faded out.
All right, it's been great, guys. I'll talk to you later.
Bye-bye.
See ya.